Hello, everybody out there. Great to see you. This is our. We were talking about something else right before. All right, so here we are. This is the TNT Boot Camp. My name is Ronnie Bincer. Many times I'm known as the Hangout Helper, but here we're talking about tools and techniques to help you get the most out of Google Plus. And some of the tools we've been talking about are things like Circloscope, which is what we were just chatting about, Circle Count, Nodex, Steady Demand. I might
That's
have
all
missed.
we've covered so far.
Okay, and then we went into, because this is a series, and by the way, just want to make sure you know it's a series. This is not the very first show. We've had quite a few before this. So if this is of interest to you, you might want to back up and look through the different shows that we've got available. Today, we're in our second sort of phase where we're talking to influencers, such as, and I'm going to pin you for a moment. Say hi, Chef, for a moment.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. This is Chef Dennis Littley, and we're going to give him a full-on introduction a little bit, but I want to let you know that we are focusing our show today on how people who are influencers are utilizing Google Plus and how are they getting some traction out of it, and then also ask them specific questions about what do they like and what do they not like, and we've been doing that for quite a while with different influencers, and not only me, but my lovely co-host, Christine DeGraff. So introducing Christine, here you are. Christine, go for it.
Hello, my name is Christine DeGraff. I'm a co-founder with Circloscope, and I'm happy to be here today with Ronnie and Chef Dennis. Chef is a food blogger. He has been here on Google Plus since the beginning, pretty much. I think give or take a week. And he has built his influence both here on Google Plus and in the rest of the world by helping others and by teaching. So, Chef, how are you today? And tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, happy to be here, Christine. Thank you. And loving life in Florida. It's a little cloudy today. You know, we have rain every day down here. We're in the rainy season, and we're not talking about rain. We're talking about biblical rain. You know, we're waiting for frogs to drop some days. But still loving life down here. You know, we had a great winter. But I'm happy to be on Google Plus. I took to it like a duck to water, pardon the pun. But it's just been really good for me. It's been a good place for me. It's been fun bringing my friends over, making tons of new friends in all different areas. Which is, I think, the best part about Google Plus for me was that how I was able to engage and meet so many different people from so many walks of life, rather than just food bloggers, and I always advise my food blogging friends to do the same thing. You want to get your sphere of influence out there. So it keeps me pretty busy. I have 3 weekly shows, or almost weekly, depending upon how our guests are running. But I have Good Day Google Plus every Friday, Around the Kitchen Table, which I took off today because I'm still recovering from the holiday and from my conference. And then I do one with Mia that we're doing at least every other week now, the Food and Booze Show. And, like you were talking about my conference, I did that last week. It was the second year we ran it, and very successful. I learned a lot more about doing something like this online, and getting ready for next year's already. I'm started planning, which is not like me at all. So.
Wow. So part of what we do, and Christine, sorry to interrupt for a second.
Go ahead.
We try to bring in some comments every once in a while from people out there in the stream, and there's Christopher saying, "Yep, not his first rodeo." Yeah, I apparently said it incorrectly. I mean the series. This is not the first show in the series, nor is this my first rodeo for Hangouts. Hopefully you might know that by now. But Chef Dennis, a quick question, and then I'm going to let Christine follow up on it if she has a follow-up. Do you, in general, have things that you see people are asking you all the time, because you're an influencer, you got hundreds of thousands of people that follow you? Do you have people that are frequently asking you to share their things or promote, do what I'm, help me spread my word because you have that reach? Is that something that happens to you? And if so, what do you think about it?
Honestly, it does not happen that much. It does happen, but maybe not with the frequency that makes it really annoying or anything. And I'm always happy to help my friends, always. But it's the ones that have never said 2 words to you that ask you then, or ask you to, like, it's like a brand coming to you and saying, we'd like you to write 3 posts about this cereal. We're going to send you 2 boxes. Thank you. And, that's it. It's like, really? It's the same kind of thing, please, and I get the emails, and a lot of them just go right to spam. I don't even think about it anymore. But it does happen. Again, I will help anyone that asks if we've got a relationship. And I always tell people, I had guest posters on my blog for a long time, and everybody always wants to do a guest post. I said, well, do I know you, first of all? I only let people that I know and trust put things on my blog. So, I kind of feel that same way about business. And, if they don't know me, and I'll ask people that I don't really know to come on the show or something, but I'm not asking them for a big investment or to promote me, just to come on and let's get to know each other. And I think that's different. And almost anybody that asks me to come on a show, I'm a big HOA, or Ho as we like to call it. And I'll go on just about anybody's show because I love the exposure. Christopher, don't get that wrong. I didn't say I love to expose myself.
I can just see some coming. Here it comes. It's coming. So, Christine,
now, Chef, you were already pretty influential before you even came to Google+. I mean, you were in the blogger community, the food blogger community, back before Google+ existed, and awarded. What were you awarded? Most influential.
Most valuable foodie.
Most valuable foodie. Now, when you came to Google+, did that influence happen, follow you, or did you have to build it here?
Oh, no. Nothing followed me, because when I came on, there were no food bloggers on. And, my friends that really trusted me and believed me came over with me. They never all really drank the Kool-Aid right away. It's been a slow process. The ones that have been here, and a couple of them did do exactly what I said, and they're very successful. Even some ones that I met last year rallied around. It was a bunch of craft bloggers, and they're all on the suggested users list. They did exactly what I said, when I said, and they followed instructions. So it's not like I don't know what to do. I do. It's just that a lot of times people let their egos get in the way of being told.
Very interesting point, though, that you bring up, Chef. I think a lot of people, when they first start with Google+, if they've been popular somewhere else, they expect to be automatically popular here, and I have seen that fail, drastically fail. And as a result, they say, well, there's nobody here. And we all know there are plenty of people here, but it has to do with how you approach it. So what would you say, Chef Dennis, is different in the Google Plus space, even if you're popular somewhere else, and now you're coming over to Google Plus? What would you do or advise people to do differently if they want to become known as an influencer?
Well, the first thing I tell them to do, it's almost like anyone would tell you, if you want to be a millionaire, you hang around with millionaires, right? Of course, $1 million isn't much anymore, but it is still to me, but I mean in today's world. But if you want to be an influencer, you should engage with influencers. It's great to have your friends, and it's great to engage with your friends, but you really have to go after the influencers, and you have to really work at it. It's not like we're all people, we're all normal people, and we all like to engage with people. We wouldn't be where we were if we didn't. But don't expect the first time you say hello, hi chef, what are you doing? What are you making for lunch? For me to answer you.
So basics. What do you mean engage with an influencer? What would it look like?
I would say start leaving comments, because the more you leave comments for me and plus my name, I'm going to remember you. And it's going to go up there somewhere, and I'll see it again and go, oh, then I'll click on you and see who you are. I might not follow you then, but I'll see who you are. And then if you actually engage again, maybe I'll answer you if you ask me something. If we start having a dialogue of some sort, think of it as dating. You don't go out on the first date and expect to go home with your date. Well, some people do. Normally, okay. We're going out for coffee, all right? And we may be at separate tables, and we're waving to each other, all right? Next time, we may get closer, and then we might actually start a conversation and dialogue, and you might buy me a coffee, or I might buy you a coffee. But it leads up to that point, and that's the same thing you have to think about it with engagement. It's not, some people strike up an instant friendship. That does happen, but it takes a little work, like anything else worthwhile. It takes a little work.
So I'm just bringing up the fact that Anna Hoffman is saying that just the fact you're a foodie automatically makes you very valuable in her eyes.
Now, what do you do, Chef? Like you said, if you want to be an influencer here on Google+, you engage with other influencers. What
Yes.
happens if in your industry there aren't any here? That you're breaking new ground and there's no influencers in your industry. What do you do then?
Well, don't get confused, and this is where a lot of people take the wrong path. Engage with influencers. I didn't tell you to only engage with influence in your field.
Okay.
Engage with a broad spectrum of influencers. I mean, other than Hangouts, Ronnie and I did not have a lot in common, but we engaged with each other. We became close friends. I have other friends in different techie areas. I have friends that do complete things that I don't even understand. But we engage because on a common bond. Well, it's easy to engage with me because of food. I have the common bond that everyone enjoys. So no matter what you do in your life, doctors, lawyers, I have lawyer friends, and I don't understand what they're talking about. And my favorite saying is, I may not know it, but I know a guy who does. So.
Well, in this age of specialization, it's really, really hard to know everything. And so to know where to refer to or to know who to go and find that answer is incredibly valuable.
Yep. And there are influencers in every area that you can even think about on Google+. And it's just finding them. And, it's not like you're just going to, you might stumble upon them and then you begin the dialogue and just say, hi, how you doing, Or, leave the comments, like I said.
What about competitors in your area of influence? I know it's, how do you handle that? You're an influencer here on Google+, especially, known for in the food circles, but there are other influential food bloggers, and how do you
No.
yeah how do you guys do you guys talk to each other? Do you help each other, or is it like I'm here and you're there?
You're not going to be friends with everybody, and I won't pretend that that is the case, because some people just don't run in the same circles. And there's always going to be cliques and different things. But for the most part, the ones that are important to me, I work with all the time. And if one of them reaches out to me, well, of course I'm going to work with them if they're, it doesn't say I'm going to work with them a second time, because not everyone's motives are not always the same. What everyone's looking to get out of things are not always the same. And I'm looking for people that are genuinely interested in helping other people, and not just themselves. We all do things for ourselves, and that's fine. But the premise of you being and on Google Plus or on anything can't be always about yourself. So I have some really good influential friends, and they're way above me in followers, and I'm still happy they talk to me in that respect.
So I can bring up a comment from YouTube just to let you know we are monitoring what's going on in YouTube and Google Plus at the same time here. He's just mentioning that it's a great point about hanging around other influential stars. But let me ask you a question on that. When I met you, you were the big guy, and I'm just this little guy trying to help you learn Hangouts. So what I did is, I think similar to what you were talking about, and then you actually let me into your foodie community, which was weird because I'm not a foodie guy. So talk about that. Why?
You don't eat, Ronnie?
Well, I am, but Jeff, at least at that point, you were not allowing others that were not food bloggers in. I don't know if that's changed or what's the status, but something affected the ability for me to be involved there, and what was that?
It was your engagement and your willingness to teach. Then share your knowledge. And there's always room for people in my community who are willing to share their knowledge with the other food bloggers. And not everybody wants to do that. A lot of people have that mindset where it's mine, I'm holding it close, and I'm not going to do that. You have never, ever said, no, I'm not going to tell you how to do that. It's a secret. And Lord knows I've come to you often enough. But you had a willingness to share, to help, to teach, to nurture.
Okay, so the idea, and I'm just going to summarize it in slightly different words. You tell me if I got it or not. At least this is how I see it. When someone comes to the influencer and they're willing and able to offer help in one way, shape, or form, that can get the attention of the influencer. And then that influencer may then more likely start to interact back and share their things, and that is allowing their influence to help spread the message of the person that was willing to help. Is that about right?
That's about right. That's absolutely right. And in fact, I have someone that I met that's from Facebook, and she's going to be on my show this Friday and had a unique message to share, so I asked her to come on and share it, and she's very willing to. So, that's, and has no following. I think has 42 followers. One of them is me. So, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, it's that attitude, a good, correct attitude, your willingness to share, your willingness just to be a real person, on here. It's just, you don't have to be thinking about yourself all the time.
Okay, and one of the tools that you can use, like Chef Dennis uses quite well, is because he's got a weekly or multiple shows going on, he can use his Hangout on Air tool, but it's not just Hangouts. Believe it or not, I just said that. Yes, it's not just Hangouts. You can share people's posts. You can reshare the things that they put onto the network, their pictures, their posts, their videos that they might share. It's not just trying to get inside of a Hangout on Air broadcast to be visible. There's plenty of other ways to be visible.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
A comment here from Christopher Vogelman. He says, the tighter you hold on to and hoard information, the lesser your influence. And I definitely think that's true. And teaching, that's what we want to talk about today, is the importance of how you can build your influence by teaching others. And Chef, how many food bloggers, what do you try to teach them when in your community? What are some of the things that you try? I'm sure you're trying to help them build up and become more influential and gain a following. So can you give us some examples of that?
Hey, Chef, before you jump in, let me give this a shout out from Maggie saying that your food blogger community rocks. Okay, so there you go. Now you're on. Everybody knows that your community rocks. Go for it.
Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate that.
Go for it.
Okay. What I do try to show them, first of all, and most importantly, is that not to think of it as Facebook. It's not going to become Facebook. Don't think of it that way. Think of it differently. And I always use the analogy of people going into a cocktail party, standing on the table, shouting, "Look at me, look at me." Okay, and that's the wrong way to think. Some of them get it, some of them don't. And sometimes you got to beat them over the head with it a little while. I kept telling one blogger who kept sending me messages, and we're friends now. And it's funny how that works. It went from being, "I'm so tired of this, you're annoying me," to, "Oh, you're really a nice person. I'm glad we got to talk on this level, and we're friends now." But she kept asking, and finally I said, "Look, it's the same as I've been telling you every time you ask. This is what it is. Have a nice day. Leave me alone." And then it was, "Oh, I think I finally get it." I'm like, oh. So I try to teach them how to use Google Plus the way I think it was intended to use, and the way it's been successful for me. And I share every way. I tell them I have a new method for sharing food posts. And you'd think I'd be asking them to sell their children, though. I said, you got to put the whole recipe and all the instructions up there and just watch what happens. But it's got to be a good picture, too. And, they're not all buying into that yet, but it works for me. I get a lot of real good feedback on stuff. But, and in my community, I try to teach them, again, to be sharing, to ask questions, not to hold back, and just to share information. When I was a food blogger, one of my key things I would do was share your knowledge, together we're stronger. That was how I would end a post all the time. And I do the same thing here. It's about, getting together. David Amerland had a post out a while ago, and he said, your competitor can be your best friend if you let them. You have so much in common. You have so much information that you can pool and you can share, and you can talk about things that you both know about. There's plenty of room for everybody. Just to get in there and do that, and you'll be surprised at the results. Everybody's going to win because of that, and you got a good friend because of it, too.
I think collaboration is very important, and some of why you're doing it with Mia, and that's a great example of how you're in different spaces, but kind of in the same space, and you found that common overlap. The enjoyment of food and hangouts, and managed to combine it to a food and booze show. That helps both of you really.
Yeah, it was a good tool for us, and Mama does love her groceries.
No, I knew there'd be a little comments here and there, so here we go. Yes, it's not just Hangouts; it's an important part of the ecosystem. And Alex is saying, uh-oh, not just Hangouts, because we're about to do a show very, very soon, right after this one, about Glass from the Class and how nonverbal communication is a really big part. Wade is bringing up the idea that if you give things away for free and you do it consistently and it's good quality stuff, I'm adding that in there, that when it comes for the time for the purchase, they're going to come to that person that they have learned to trust. And that's a big part, Chef Dennis, about what we just did with a show with you the other day and David Amerland. We were talking about trust, right?
Comes
Do you remember
down
that
to,
one?
yeah, when we were talking about using Google Hangouts.
Yeah, you did so many shows you might not remember the details. Let me fill in some of the gaps.
Fill the blanks.
We talked about the idea that when a show is totally scripted,
oh yeah,
that it didn't have the same ability to build the trust as when it was for more free flowing and the ability for it to be what I call interactive. So that's why one of the reasons why I try to bring in comments from people that are on the outside viewing, because not everybody can fit down here in this little film strip. We just can't. And so as a result, I do want people to feel like they're part of the show, which is why we try to use the comments and bring them right into the show, because part of that allows us to respond to the audience, and then it becomes an interactive experience, not just a broadcast. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share on that as far as the way that works with what you do?
I try to never really script much of anything out, and sometimes I will write down questions if I have it. But that's exactly how I feel. You should do it. It's more honest. It's more. You're giving more of yourself. Like when people send me questions, I don't want to know them ahead of time. I said, don't bother. Just ask me whatever you want to ask me, and let me just take it off the top of my head, come from inside. I don't want to have to think about it, because then if I think about it, it's not an honest answer always. It's a scripted answer. So, not that they're not honest, but they're not. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Here's a question or a comment. Actually, a question from Kevin Burns. He's saying, "What do you do, Chef Dennis, with folks that you detect don't want to play ball with you, and yet it would be a win-win if they were to get involved?"
Hey, I'm going to answer that one. You can't force somebody to play ball with you if they don't want to.
No. So. If they don't, and I have been beating my head against the wall for almost 3 years trying to bring people onto Google+, and I always get the same stock answer. Some will come over and try it, and then it's, I don't like it, there's no engagement. I remember someone on Facebook posting that they asked this question, and there was nothing but crickets. So I went back, I said, well, geez, you don't engage with anybody, you don't post regularly, but you expect them all to jump and answer your question as soon as you ask it? So like,
It's funny because, it's like, if you have a blog and you put up a new website or something, generally people don't just flock to it and suddenly explode every time you post something. You do have to take that time to build it up.
Yeah.
And and get people interested and drive some traffic to it. And on Google Plus, the way to do that is get off your page or profile and go out into communities and go watch HOAs and go on other people's posts and shake hands.
Yeah, you got to be a politician almost every day. Kiss baby, shake hands. Just make sure you don't get it backwards.
So let me ask. We're getting close towards the end of our show because we keep it a 30-minute show. So, Chef Dennis, what are the things that people have done with you or to you that actually have been positive rather than the negative things? What are the things that you have found that have got your attention and made you go, wow, I'd really like to get to know this person?
Well, they've reached out and said, hey, if you have a few minutes, I'd like to jump in a hangout with you. And, as long as it's a name that I can recognize, a language I can recognize, I'm almost pretty always open for that, because I do get a lot of those other ones too. But no, it's saying, sending me a personal note. And you got to remember, you have to plus the name, and if I'm following you, it's easier for me to see it, and I may not always see it. So if I ignore it, don't think I'm ignoring it. I may not just have seen it, so try again. But it's sending a note saying, hey, if you have a few minutes, I think I'd like to talk to you just to see, who are you? What are you about? And I'll look at their profile, and if it's something that looks like it might work for me, I will answer them. So I've gotten some really good made some good positive friendships that way, and vice versa by me reaching out to people. But just sharing. I always tell people sharing content is probably the kindest thing you can do for anyone. So if I do a post and someone shares it to their followers, I always try to go on and thank them for that, because that's like the best thing you can do for someone.
Do you find that you're able to thank everybody that shares your posts?
Well, I use ripples, so I pretty much, I may not go back to it after about 3 days, but up until about that point, I go into it and I check. And it's just like when my birthday was. I think I had about 1,500 birthday wishes. I thanked everyone. Because
Wow.
it became a point. I mean, I do it this year, so don't get excited, people. But it just became. I started doing it, and I'm just going to do it. I have to thank everyone.
I did as well, and it took the entire day.
Oh, it took more than a day. I kept going.
And but by the and some people were surprised, because I mean, I think people start to realize you can get a lot of birthday wishes on here. But I started feeling like it was important to do it, and by the end of the day, I started feeling a little overwhelmed. But it was more of an overwhelm with, my gosh, there were a lot of people who really took a few minutes of their day to thank me or to wish me a happy birthday, and it was like a little humbling after a while, to think about it on that scale.
It's nice, and it's good to know that you've touched someone's life enough for them to do that. Because, I mean, I don't do it to everyone. I see the ones I see, friends that I know, when I do see them, because I don't always see them. Again, that's always the point. If it happens to pop up on your screen, that you can remind them or you can wish them something.
I want to shout out to Shannon Hernandez, who I thought he had been missing for a while, but he says, you're right, even when you get on Google+, participate and then disappear, things die down. Staying engaged is a must. It's been something he's been experiencing and struggling with in the last few months, finally getting back to Google+, so he just wanted to say that.
Well, it's about time, Shannon.
I know.
So, Chef Dennis, just as maybe a last wrap-up question, are there any particular tools, since this is a show about tools and techniques, we've been talking about techniques that you use, but are there any particular tools that you use to help you manage or grow to the area that you are now inside Google+?
Tools are always wonderful. I always tell people I am a technological dinosaur. I mean, I may be on here and it may look like I know what I'm doing in terms of technology, but I don't. But I know guys that do. There are some great tools. Circloscope, the new one's coming out. It's been out. It's in beta. I just need a little help with it. But the old one worked really, really well for me. So I know this new one's going to work even better. But it's a great way to find who your engagers are. I also use plus my reach to find my engagers for shows. I find that to be very helpful. I don't know Nodex very well. I should. But again, it's something. There's all kinds of tools. You can always find tools for social media. Sometimes I think that you can overthink things, and you can get more concerned about the tools than the actual engagement. So they're never my priority as much as I like to use them just to kind of see where I'm standing. Circle count the same way. See where I'm at, if I'm still moving in a positive direction. The nicest thing that Google ever did for me, the kindest thing that Google ever did for me, was to take me off the list, the suggested users list, for a month, because I got so pissed off that they did that. And I worked so much harder at promoting myself and being visible on Google+. I took nothing for granted, and I really worked really hard to get where I was. So, I mean, it was great to be on it, but then when they took me off, it was like, after I stopped hyperventilating, it was put your nose to the grindstone and work. So I thank them for that.
I want to touch on that real quick. Two things. One thing, you do use Ripples is a tool, here on Google+, where you view your post to see who shared it or whatever, and you're using that to go thank people. But another thing about the suggested user list, I had my page, My Music Hangout, got on the suggested user list, shot up to 30,000, and then was taken off. And then for months, I've been struggling to get that page jump-started again. It's stuck. So, it can be like an oh my gosh moment when they take you off and you realize, hey, that was a gift, you know. Now I've got to really put my nose in the grindstone here and figure out how to engage with these people and
Mhm.
get this going.
You know, and people are always saying, well, how do you get on it? How do you get on it? You can't worry about it. You just have to do what you do and keep doing it well and engage. And, you know, you're better off not being on it, because then everything you earn is earned your own, and is something you can be proud of your accomplishment for that.
All right, so we got to wrap this up now because of the time. Just so everybody knows, we do have another show coming up on July 21st. That's the third Monday in July. And we're going to shift back and focus again on some of the tools. Specifically, what is it called, Christine?
Circloscope. We're going to focus on Circloscope since we didn't, get to really cover it before, now that it's relaunched. And then I want to also come back around and cover NodeX again, because they have relaunched as well, and very excited about their new launch. It's really easy to use now, so it should be an easy show. It's easy to use and fast, and that's good.
Okay, so the next 2 or 3 shows we're going to be covering Circloscope, the update, so that you can see some of the great stuff you can do with that. Then we'll probably get NodeX, and who knows what's going to happen.
And then maybe show you how to use both of them together, because they work well together, like peanut butter and jelly. So.
All right, Chef Dennis, any final parting words before we end the show today?
Well, just thank you so much for having me on today. It was a pleasure to see you as always, Ronnie and Christine. We don't see each other enough. I need to get you back on the show. Ronnie, we just had one with you, and we're always on one way or another. But very nice to be here today, and thank you all for watching.
Great, and thank you everybody out there for being part of the show. Don't forget to watch other shows that are in the playlist and share this with others. They can watch it after it's been live. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.